Good morning, everyone. This is our sixth Café International, and here we are presenting the Sessão Internacional. The objective of this session is to incentivate and to promote our students of undergraduate and graduate students that they will be able to present their work in other language, because we are going towards the internationalizations where the OEMA is one of the university. We are going in front of we are going with them. So today we are going to presenting the students. Fortunately, we have 15 students of the OEMA who wrote for this session, and here we have group of 5 students where they are presenting in our this session. Okay, so I want to congratulate all the students who wrote and sent their work to present in here. Okay, so I'm here, Professor Dr. Alamgir Khan. I'm from the Department of Chemistry, and presently I'm also working as a technical advisor to the Superintendency de Relações Internacionais of the UEMA, tá bom? And we have Professor Silas de Melo, who belong to the Department of Geography and History. Most welcome, Professor. We have our assistant, Joyce Belfort Pereira. Most welcome in here. So good morning to all of you. And now I will go to the Professor Silas if he want to add something before beginning our session. Okay, thank you, Professor Silas.
So thank you, Professor Alamgir. I was thinking that the correct pronunciation was Alamgir, but it's Alamgir, right?
Yeah.
And so, Alamgir already introduced me. So what I have or what I want to share with you is just relax, and I'm sure that you will do a good job. Right, girls? So we can start.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Silas. We are going to, according to the list we have in here, we have our first candidate is the Clarissa Sousa Costa Pereira. I think she is yet not present with us. So we pull towards the second candidate, which is Letícia Moraes Nunes, who is still not present. So we go towards the Valéria de Carvalho Souza Santos. Okay. So Valéria de Souza Santos, are you ready? Okay. So,
Okay.
Okay, she's our PIBIC student, undergraduate PIBIC students under the supervision of Professora Doutora Solange Santana Guimarães Moraes, and her work is CAZUZA'S Memories, Childhood and School, and we are going to learn something from her. So now towards Valeria, you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Just a moment.
I think someone WhatsApp is is also working. So please remove your WhatsApp.
Nice. Can you see my work?
Yes, but it's not in a presentation style. Yeah, so you need to, yeah.
Okay, I'll put it. Now?
Yes, so we can see you.
I'm going to start. Okay. Wait a moment.
Relax, take your time.
Okay, good morning to everyone. My name is Valéria de Carvalho Santos. My research supervisor is Solange Santana Guimarães Moraes, and our research is CAZUZA'S Memories, Childhood and School. Well, the author of the analyzed book is Manuel Viriato Correa Baima do Lago Filho, or Viriato Correa, who lived between 1884 and 1967. He is most commonly known by his most exponential work, CAZUZA, published in 1938. Viriato Correa was one of the most prolific intellectual of his time. He was a writer, a journalist, a playwright, a playwright, writer, journalist, and well, he was an important intellectual in his time. Well, for this reason, this research studied the literary production of Viriato Correa, in particular the novel CAZUZA. Besides that, the present work is a part of a research project called Childhood Scenes, Children's Literary Production by Maranhense writer Viriato Correa. Well, CAZUZA is a book published, as I say before, published in 1938, and tells us a story of a boy called CAZUZA, and talks about his school experiences, discuss cultural aspects of Maranhão, and shows us an image of Brazilian education in the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century. In this way, through the analysis, we decided to turn on focus in themes like childhood and school that are discussed by Filho 2018, Arie 2081, aliás, 1981. Besides that, we studied about memory according to Legoff 1990 and Halbach's 1990, two of the most important intellectuals in this research area. We studied also about children's literature according to Cademartori 2017 and Zilberman 2015. Our methodology focused on a bibliographic and documentary research, consisting in readings about the life and works of Viriato Correa and about the main subjects of the study, some readings of children's books written by Viriato Correa, and reading of CAZUZA in analysis, observing ideas, historical context, and literary research to verify in the memorialistic record how the relationship between the school experience of CAZUZA and in his childhood took place. We also intended to verify possible consequences of this interaction for the child formation. From the analysis, we can see that the schools in the book calls our attention to important themes. For instance, the village school that in Pirapemas that CAZUZA studied criticized traditional school. The town school in Coroatá calls our attention to teacher training at the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century. And the city school in São Luís shows us the beginning of some changes in the education system, the Brazilian education system. About our results, we have some academic productions, like oral presentations at events, writing and submission of 2 articles for publication in electronic journals, and our research was awarded at the 18th National Science and Technology Week in Maranhão. Lastly, there was a publication of an article in a book organized by the Maranhão Literature Research Group, Núcleo de Pesquisa em Literatura Maranhense, NUPLIM, called Experiências no Ensino e na Pesquisa, Texturas Possíveis, or Experiences in Teaching and Research, Possible Discussions. To conclude, I believe that Brazilian education, aliás, I believe that CAZUZA, the book, with important discussions about Brazilian education at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, presents some cultural aspects of Maranhão in this time, and it shows us how CAZUZA'S school education was important for his primary formation. Here are my references. Sorry.
Okay.
Finish? Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Perdão pelo nervosismo.
Muito obrigado, Valéria de Carvalho Santos, tá bom? Meus parabéns para você, que você apresentou seu trabalho, certo? E vou passar para o professor Silas, se ele dá algumas recomendações, alguma sugestão, alguma coisa para adicionar. Silas, por favor.
Valéria, you did a great job. Congratulations. I like your presentation. You have a good pronunciation. I like it. Sometimes some mistakes, but it's normal. For example, I'm talking with you right now, and I'm sure that I'm committing some mistakes. So it's not our first language, but you present in a very good way because it seems the sequence is very didactic. I think this word exists, I believe. So it's very didactic. And I have a question. How many pages there is in this book, and how many times you read it to do this research? 210 pages in
I don't know how to say this, but I read 3 times because it's another workplace. I don't know if I can say that, but
Understood.
there was another ways to this research. Others researchers, my colleagues, and this book is very, how to say, big, ample, and
It's broad, right? It's broad. And
yes.
the first time that I read your title, I was thinking that your research was about Cazuza, the singer Cazuza. Do you know if there is any relationship between Cazuza from Viriato Correia and Cazuza, the singer?
Can you repeat the question?
There in Brazil, there is a very prominent
I understood.
there was a very prominent singer that his artistical name was Cazuza. Do you know if there is any relationship between Cazuza, the singer, and the Viriato Correia's Cazuza?
No, there wasn't any relationship between them, because Viriato Correia lived before the Cazuza singer was born. And actually, Cazuza is a nickname for, I don't know the name, the complete name now, but is a nickname common in Maranhão at the beginning of the 20th century.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Silas. Muito obrigado, Valéria de Carvalho Santos, tá bom? Meus parabéns para você, para sua apresentação. Agora vamos para a próxima candidata, né? Acho que já apareceu Thalita, que ela está aparecendo para a gente. Thalita, bom dia, você está ouvindo?
Bom dia, estou ouvindo sim.
Tá. Vamos para você? Você está preparada?
Estou sim.
Tá.
Pode começar a apresentação do slide?
Tá, pode compartilhar, tá bom? Então, our next presentation is Miss Thalita Letícia Moraes Nunes. She is the student under the supervision of Professor Dr. Ayrton Egidio Peccinelli. In her work, she is going to present the work Concrete Production Using Stone Dust Replacing Natural Sand. So let's hear Miss Thalita. So now towards Thalita. Por favor.
Are you seeing my presentation? Yes?
Yes. Yes, we can. We can see.
Okay. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I hope everyone fine and safe. First of all, I'd like to present myself. My name is Thalya Nunes. I am 21 years old, and I am at the penultimate semester of civil engineering. So, as you can see, my work is based on concrete production using gravel dust, replacing natural sand. My research supervisor is Professor Ayrton Egidio Peccinelli. Excuse me just for a sec. I forgot to open my camera. Just a second. Here. Let's keep it moving. Okay, well, the main source of the environmental load on the planet are the civil construction industry and its segments. As you can see in this picture, the concrete is the second most consumed material in the world and the main contributor to the generation of environmental damage. On the other hand, natural sand is one of the main components of the concrete. So this mass concrete consumption due to the growth of the civil construction sector shows an increase in the demand for raw materials for its constant production. As a consequence, the extraction of natural sand is advancing, which is an activity that attacks natural water courses, causing damage to the environment, such as erosion on the bank of rivers, extinction of plant species, and the scarcity of our natural resources. In addition, we have the need to reuse industrial waste from civil construction, especially the gravel dust that consists of the waste from the aggregate extraction. For this reason, came up a need to study the feasibility of replacing sand with gravel dust for concrete production, seeking to reduce the problems associated with the natural sand extraction and the disposal of waste from the crushing process. Well, the main objective of this work consists to evaluate the technical and economic feasibility of replacing natural sand with stone dust or gravel dust for the production of simple concrete. The specific objectives are to characterize the granulometry of the gravel dust, to evaluate the consistency of the mixes through the slump test, to evaluate the axial compressive resistance of the concrete at 7, 14, and 28 days, and to analyze the economic feasibility of each concrete mix. Well, we started this work with a bibliographic review of publications by renowned authors and institutions of concrete materials related to this theme. So, therefore, we could define that we would produce 48 cylindrical concrete specimens in the proportions of 0%, 50%, 50%, and 100% of gravel dust with a design compressive resistance of 20 MPa. So we did the first test program that consisted of several tests in accordance to the appropriate ABNT standards with the aim of characterizing the main materials involved: sand, gravel, cement, and gravel dust. Here we can see some pictures of this program. In figure 1, we see the gravel for the granulometry test. In figure 2, we see the gravel dust sample for the granulometry test. After that, we did the gravel sample for the specific mass determination, as in figure 3. And in figure 4, we see the gravel dust sample 2 for the specific mass determination test. Okay, so the data obtained in the first test program were applied to the dosage of the concrete mixtures. This phase consisted in carrying out procedures and calculations to determine the best proportion between each material used. After that, we start the concreting. As you can see in figure 5, we were using the concrete mixer, and in figure 6, we see the test specimens after molding. The second testing program were carried out with the objective of analyzing concrete qualities such as consistency, workability, resistance, and water absorption capacity. Involved slump tests, as you can see in figure 7, involved to And the water absorption test, as you can see in figure 8, is specimen after submerged in water. And in figure 9, we see that we did through the compressive resistance test. As a result of all tests that we did, we saw that the maximum characteristic diameter obtained for both natural sand and gravel dust were equal, 4.75 millimeters. Also, we saw that the gravel dust study had good physical characteristics for its use as fine aggregate in the production of the concrete. If you take a look at table 1, you see that when we increase the percentage of gravel dust on the concrete, it increased the amount of water to obtain this lump in the range and the design range. That, if you take a look here at table 2, you see that in this work, we obtain really good compressive resistance values at 28 days. And we can conclude that as the percentage of stone dust increased, there was a reduction in the compressive resistance because a great amount of water was required to obtain better workability of the concrete. Also, we could conclude that the use of gravel dust increased the production cost of the concrete. However, the primary advantage of this material in this mixture is associated with the reduction of all the environment impacts that I talked about in the beginning of the presentation. Please take your attention to our conclusions. Here we can see that the replacement of natural sand by gravel dust is technically feasible. However, the produced cost of the concrete using gravel dust is a little higher than the conventional one. Thus, we can see that the concrete with the ideal replacement content found in this research consists of 50% of gravel dust as fine aggregates. Also, we can conclude that as the percentage of stone dust increase, there is a reduction in the compressive resistance in all mixes. These were my references. Thank you all for your attention. I apologize for mistakes. This was my first presentation all in English, so I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thalita, muito obrigado, Thalita, para sua apresentação. Você falou muito melhor inglês, tá bom? A sua apresentação foi ótimo. Nós conseguimos ouvir o seu inglês direitinho, tá muito bom. Agora eu vou passar para o professor Silas, se ele quer adicionar alguns pontos para você, tá? Obrigado, professor Silas.
Hi, Thalya. Good morning. I'm really glad to hear your presentation. And it seems Professor Alamgir said that your English is much better in comparison to the I don't know, it seems you presented last year or no, is the first?
No, this is my first presentation here.
Okay, oh, sorry. Well, anyways, so congratulations, because not just because your English presentation, but because of your research work. It seems it's a very tough lab activity when you're doing with this sand or gravel stuff. So did you do all these things by yourself, or you ask for help? I don't know, your group, they're kind of guys or strong guys to help you all these things, or you do all the things by yourself?
I had a help of my boyfriend and then responsible of the laboratory too.
Okay, so I saw the concrete mixer, so this can be dangerous, just one person, you know, manage all these things.
Yes, it was. And really hard to.
And I agree with you, the sand extraction, it's an environmental problem, and there are some points in Maranhão State there that they are illegal extraction. I don't know if you heard anything about it. So it's a big environmental problem. Actually, it's a challenge that our authorities need to face. But when you and your advisor propose something like that, it's very, it's a very good thing. And this is our whole in a society as a university. So good job, congratulations. And you told us that gravel dust that you produce, it's a little bit, not a little bit, but you said that it's more expensive, right?
Yes.
But how much more expensive?
It's not that expensive, but the people could think that it's not worthy, you see, but is something that we think in the environment. We could start reducing the impact of natural sand extraction, and we can use the waste from the aggregate extraction too.
Yeah, all right. And just one suggestion. In the end, for example, if you will publish your research, it's just a tip. In the end, you say, okay, it's more expensive right now in terms of money right now for the production, but we need to put in a balance the environmental issues, right? So based on this principle about the environmental perspective, I believe your method, it's cheaper, right? In terms
Yes,
of sustainability. So good job.
of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Talita, for your presentation, for your work. Your work is very good. As Silas said, Professor Silas said, it's more laborious work, which means that we need more handwork compared, which is not being, that is why he asked that question. So let's going towards the next presentation. Thank you very much. We'll go to our next presenter, which is Tatiane Gomes. Então, vou falar da Tatiane Gomes. Tatiane de Freitas Gomes, ela está fazendo uma prova nesse momento, tá certo? E ela mandou o link do YouTube que ele tinha gravado e pediu que ela vai estar presente, mas ela não vai conseguir apresentar devidamente a prova que está ocorrendo no mesmo horário, tá certo? De uma disciplina, tá bom? Então, vamos dar essa chance para ela, que a Joyce vai projetar a apresentação dela. Então, vou falar sobre a Tatiane de Freitas Gomes. Our next presenter is Tatiane de Freitas Gomes. She's the undergraduate student of the chemistry course, Department of Chemistry, and she is working under supervision of Professor Dr. Alamgir Khan. Her work, she is going to present investigation of the efficiency of computational methods using multivariate statistical techniques. It's her work. Let's see her work. Microfone. Acho que tem alguma coisa de configuração da...
E tá bem baixo o vídeo dela, viu? Então não estranhe, porque eu já procurei aqui em tudo que tá baixo e tá bem baixo. O vídeo dela tá bem baixo, viu?
Tá.
Então esse vai ser o máximo, ver se conseguem, tá?
Tá ok, dá para ouvir.
In 1923, used the quantum theory.
Comece do início, Joyce, por favor.
Tá.
Elástico with... Hi, my name is Tatiane Freitas Gomes, and I study the chemistry at State University of Santos. And I'm going to talk about the investigation of the efficiency of computation methods use multivariate statistical technique under the supervision Alamgir. Here we have the theory division into three phases. In the first moment, where historically the Raman effect was predicted by Melo in 1923, used the quantum theory. Energy can interact inelastically with molecules. In the second moment, with Raman, he found that light scattered by molecules and liquids and gases had different wavelengths, one referred to incident light and another to multiply scarcity radiation. As this Melo model was not able to explain the relationship between molecular purpose and Raman scarcity. So Plaxa came up with the third phase of the theory plausibility, the theory to explain Raman extension intensities and prolapse. The current state of Raman intense calculations is make the study of linear and nonlinear dynamic and static optical properties of molecules the object of experimental and theoretical investigation. Therefore, there is a great interest in development of computation methods of chemistry capable of providing precise Raman intensities at a low computation cost. Thus, the objectives to investigate the electronic explanation of light, use the effective core potentials as the PGC and pre-studies development by our group on density functional theory for a set of molecules to interest. Analysis of the proposed model with functional PB0, LB94, and can be tree-like, and application of the principal components analysis PCA statistical model. The methodology was based on the first moment optimization of molecular geometry, evaluation which has the highest energy value to select the most suitable geometry to be used in the extension energy calculation, until the second moment with extension energy in the moment and using explanatory data analysis. The PCA matrix consists of lowest energy extensions, energy computation for the molecules of methane, ammonia, formaldehyde, water, and ethane. After studying the correlation between the extension energy values calculated by our protocol and CCSD established PBTZ reference, it is observed that the CCSD PBTGC methods are very close to the CCSD established PBTZ results for extension energy of the molecules. We can observe in Figure 1 theoretical visible absorption factor for water and methane molecule use CCS3 PIBIC are represented by red cycle highest energy option point. Figure 2 represents red cycle highest energy point. A set of these 6 lowest excitation energies were applied in explanatory analysis of data. The eigenvalues and variability in principal components collected for the complete data set, almost 30 cases use the 12 computation methods. In a principal component analysis, the grouping of samples defines the data structure through scores and load graphs. Choose X are the main components where the data is projected. When analyze the data set consisting of the molecular purpose, our computation methods show positive contributions, except for the LV94 Silas PBTZ method, which represents a higher diversion characteristic compared to others, as can be seen in the figure 4. On the left side, present load coefficients, and in the right side, score plots. The scores are the projections of the excitation energies for each computation method along the PC line of the data expressed. The distribution and classification molecular purpose successfully, where each magnet to explore and segregate the excitation energy in 5 types of closed groups belong to the molecules of interest. In general, in principal components analysis, the first 2 output PCs that accumulate a relatively high percent of variation explain the great variability present among the analysis variables. Take into consideration the concept in the previous work, the first 3 principal components were the most significant components represent for 84.66% of the computed electronic excitation energy of total variance for the complete data set. So we conclude the DFT SV KGC methods are very close to CCS3 Silas PBTZ results. For excitation energy of the metal molecules, load plot shows similarities and difference in between the different methods. On LV94 methods was found divided. Score plot successes the excitation energy with similar characteristics, and PCA successfully diagnosed the difference in between the methodology. The reference used during have a given. All those are thankful to Emma for the graduation scientific communication scholarship and the investors states Emma and Unsom for contribution, and thank you for attention. The distribution and classification molecular purpose successfully, where each magnet to explore and segregate the excitation energy in 5 types of the distribution and classification.
Microfone, por favor. Tá, obrigado. Tá, pessoal. Eu acho que deu algum eco no meio da apresentação, tá certo? Aí, metade a gente começou a escutar 2 vezes, né? Professor Silas, você também sentiu essa parte ou não? No início ela estava boa, mas na metade não sei o que aconteceu, mas tá bom. A Tatiane, ela é minha orientada do Iniciação Científica, tá certo? E ele está com mais de 3 anos trabalhando comigo. O trabalho dela, ela é pouco difícil, no sentido que ela é mais voltado para a área de quântica. E como que nós estamos aplicando o método estatístico, né? Vou explicar. Método estatístico para entender qual é a metodologia foi melhor para calcular as propriedades moleculares. Então, isso aqui é resumo do trabalho dela, tá certo? Quem não entendeu. Então, aplicamos 12 métodos para fazer, calcular propriedades moleculares de excitações eletrônicas, intensidade de ramas, mas nessa apresentação só foi a parte de excitações eletrônicas, era isso só para falar para vocês, tá bom? Ela, nesse momento, está fazendo, aplicando a prova, e como que surgiu bem a última hora, né? A gente sabe, nossa UEMA, a gente faz uma semana antes, fala da prova para os alunos, e infelizmente não vai conseguir aparecer para a gente. Então era isso. Se o professor Silas quer perguntar alguma coisa, eu estou à disposição para responder no lado da Tatiane, tá bom? Obrigado. Professor Silas.
Just wanna say that it's really good research. Principal component analysis is a very useful statistic, and I could see that the first age value explain, I think, about 85% of all the variation in the data. So it's quite impressive. So yeah, good stuff, Professor. You're doing a good job with your students.
Thank you very much. I was expecting the question about the statistical analysis, because we are, since the excitation energies, the protocols they computed, they were very much similar. There was a little difference in between them. So it was hard to separate them. And the principal component analysis, it helped us to separate they explored the smallest differences in between them very beautifully. So we already published this work in the article, scientific article already published, but we are doing repeatedly it, so we can take another errors. So we want to correct them for the future. We are doing very well in this. And then principal component analysis, I like this technique very much. We also applied it on another properties, like now we are applying this method to study the thermochemical properties. And that Tatiane, she already worked on PCA, and she applied this method to study the quality of honey. So she already had work and published that work already. So I want to congratulate her on that publication also. So thank you very much, Professor Silas. So vamos lá. So, vamos para a nossa última candidata, né? Que ela é, peraí, vou ver o nome dela, né? Nossa última é do Extensão, que é nossa aluna da UEMA, do Laryssa Mendes de Oliveira. Ela está presente? Está aqui. Tá. Our next presentation will be by the Laryssa Mendes de Oliveira. She is a student.
Não é Clarissa, professor?
Laryssa.
Laryssa.
Porque a Clarissa não veio.
Ah, tá. A Clarissa não vai mais apresentar, né?
Ela não apareceu. Se ela aparece, a gente dá chance para ela, não tem problema. Mas por enquanto ele não apareceu, então nós estamos andando de acordo com o programa, né?
Certo.
Tá, obrigado, o Joyce. Tá, Laryssa Mendes de Oliveira, she's our extension student, undergraduate student, and her work is literature review, Christopher Alexander's theories, under the kind supervision of Professor Marluce Valde Carvalho Vanancio. So, Laryssa, you can present your work. Good luck.
Is everyone seeing my screen now?
I'm going to start my presentation now. Greetings to all. My name is Laryssa Mendes Oliveira, student of Architecture and Urbanism of UEMA and scholarship holder of City Readings Project, with Professor Lucy Walls as research supervisor. And I'm going to start a presentation about the first activities of this project, the literature review of Christopher Alexander theories. And as participants, we have the members of the City Readings Project, me, Laryssa Mendes, Daniela Bispo, Aquiles Lima, Isabela Costa, and Luciano Costa. And the members of the research project Dialogue with Alexander and Lefebvre, identifying patterns in the social spatial trajectory of residential spaces in São Luís, Maranhão. Raquel Miranda, Luana Nogueira, Gustavo Santana, Ana Giovanna, and Clauber Lobão. This paper presents the results of the first round of activities of PIBIC's City Readings Project. And our actions were focused on studying, discussing, and analyzing Christopher Alexander's theories in order to contribute with the research project Dialogue with Alexander and Lefebvre, identifying patterns in the social spatial trajectory of residential spaces in São Luís, Maranhão. And now explaining the City Readings Project. It is a project that aims to create spaces, well, online spaces, and now that we are in this pandemic situation. And in these spaces, we will debate urban planning and architecture papers in English as a way to improve the students' ability to read, speak, and write in their language, and also have a better understanding of their theories. And the objective is also to prepare them to be able to fully participate and present papers at international academic events. As methodology, we choose to do a literature review of the two books of Christopher Alexander, The Timeless Way of Building and the Cultural Language, combined to the study of the text of Raquel Barros, her PhD thesis, Collective Housing, the Inclusion of Humanizing Concepts in the Design Process. And after choosing the text to be studied, the two groups of scholarship students set an online meeting via the Microsoft Teams platform to discuss the readings. And after debating the topics, both teams wrote the responses presented in this article. And as a result of the debating with the research project group, we came to the definition that the patterns of Alexander's theories, they represent a way of solving a problem and possibility that leads to a satisfactory result. And these patterns are used over and over again in buildings and towns to make these spaces alive and bring a kind of quality of life to the community who lives there. And this concept is used as well in São Luís, where the patterns that appears in the neighborhoods can be studied to understand the dynamic of urban spaces. And with that understanding, we will be able to draw plans to improve the experience of living in these locals. And in conclusion, Christopher Alexander's theories are fundamental to comprehend the social spatial production of São Luís housing areas, since understanding these author's discoveries about human behavior on living spaces can lead to discovering its patterns and to establish new paradigms of human habitat production. And these patterns, the patterns of Alexander's theories, they maintain a relationship to each other that generates in the space a kind of quality that was named by Alexander the quality without a name, because it is a multifactorial condition. And this quality is the core to all successful design process. And finally, as reference, we have the book studies, the books of Christopher Alexander, The Timeless Way of Building and a Cultural Language, and also Raquel Barros' PhD thesis, The Collective Houses. Thank you very much for your attention, and with this, I end my presentation.
Muito obrigado, Laryssa, né? Sua apresentação, tá certo? Vou passar para o professor Silas, se ele quer adicionar algum ponto, alguma sugestão. Professor Silas, por favor.
Laryssa, congratulations to your presentation, also for this project, extension project. I believe it's very important in the context of the university and our surroundings, you know, this kind of project. So I just want to understand some points that maybe I missed those points. First thing, the project is still going on, right? It's happening right now, or no? It's
yes, the project is still happening. This was the first activity of the project.
And who is able to participate? For example, if myself or my students, like sometimes they want to participate because they study geography and urban geography. Do they can participate or no? It is a closed group.
In this first activities, we open just for the architecture and urbanism students of WEMA, but we are planning to do workshops and lectures that will be open to all the universities of São Luís.
So yeah, okay. So it is not. So this you have a group. So in this group you discuss these books and the literature review in your book. Alexander, I forgot Lefebvre. We know Lefebvre, but and also the Alexander, right? But so this is a kind of thing that I don't like, because it's an extension project, so it should be more open. So this is just a suggestion. I know that it's not on you, it's in your supervisor. So it's just a suggestion. If you receive this scholarship and the university is investing some money in this kind of project, it should be open to the society. Listen, for example, you are studying the urban patterns. You know that in São Luís we have the segregation, right? So this is the key element to understand our cities, the segregation. So what is happening is a kind of segregation, right? So this is a point. I don't know if you want to say something about that. So just because I like this project, and you and your supervisor should go and step by step and open for the society. But I believe the next step should be open for, I don't know, the other students from WEMA, or poor students make kind of selection for new participants.
Thank you for the suggestion. We are actually thinking of open this project to other students, especially next year, because we hope that this pandemic situation will be better in next year. So we are planning to open to other students.
And again, it's not a criticism about your presentation. You were very good, you know. I feel that you were very comfortable. So because of that, I criticize you. But it's not a critic on you. You know what I mean, right? It's not on you. It's just in the project, generally speaking, right? So congratulations.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Silas. Muito obrigado, Laryssa, para sua apresentação, tá certo? Vamos passar por nossa última candidata, que ela chegou agora, é Clarissa Sousa Costa Ferreira. Ela vai apresentar seu trabalho com título, né? Effectiveness of Cell Block in Lymph Node Aspirates for Diagnosis of Canine Visceral Leishmanias, under the supervision of Professor Dr. Ana Lúcia Abreu Silva. So our last presenter, Clarissa, please.
Good morning. Do I have to turn on the camera? Yes? Okay.
One minute, Clarissa, eu queria iniciar me desculpando por esse contratempo que houve. Eu sei que o seu atraso diz respeito a um equívoco que houve em relação à sua essa falta de informação, né? Porque você estava num grupo, você acabou não entrando nesse grupo, mas eu peço perdão a você, porque foram tantos grupos que a gente acabou perdendo algumas informações, tá bom? Então, em nome da organização, eu peço perdão a você por esse equívoco, mas ainda bem que deu tudo certo, e você já está aqui entre nós e vai dar tudo certo, tá bom? Obrigada
Certo.
mais uma vez, desculpe, tá?
Certo. Deixa eu só tentar colocar aqui. Eu não sei se... It's okay? Okay, good morning. My name is Clarissa, and my research supervisor was Ana Lúcia Abreu Silva. And then we study about the effectiveness of cell block in lymph nodes aspirate for diagnosis of canine visceral leishmanias. So our abstracts consist in the parasitological diagnosis of visceral leishmanias that can be done through the direct examination techniques, immunostains tests, and molecular biology techniques. And among these, lymph nodes puncture is a technique that allows observation of amastigoid forms of the parasite, and it's less invasive and more efficient. And the use of cytoinclusion associated with immunohistochemistry is a valid technique that aids the diagnosis and showing high sensitivity and specificity. However, all through the cell block technique allows for the concentration of cells and better risk of samples. This method has not shown to be adequate for rapid identification of the parasitological quantification in canine visceral leishmanias. So our keywords was canine visceral leishmanias, parasitological examination, and cell block. So first, the canine visceral leishmania is a multisystem zoonosis caused by a protozoa of the Leishmania genus, and the effective diagnosis of infected dogs is of a paramount importance for the decision of clinical measures to be adopted. The animals positive for leishmanias usually have lymph nodes reactive, and this is due to the predominance of macrophages and plasma cells. And despite its wide applicability for the cell block techniques, is little studied for the diagnosis of leishmanias, which reduces the consistent assessment regarding insensitivity compared to the other techniques that we study to make the diagnosis. So the cytological exams in turn allow direct assessment of the agent in the cellular, environmental. Among the techniques, cytological smears and cell block stand out. This technique has been used for diagnosis of neoplasm. So my objective in this present work is to evaluate the sensitiveness of the cell block technique in the diagnosis of leishmanias in natural infected animals. And first of all, our methodology starts with the ethics committee because we use the animals and we have to prepare the person that take care of these animals, and then we asked for these animals after they been euthanized. So our protocol is number 1720 for 2020. And it was accepted by the committee of WEMA. And then we used 15 animals, natural infected, that were selected in the experiment with the rapid test confirmed for leishmanias. And first, we start with the technique of fine needle aspiration puncture in the lymph nodes. There is no selection for left or right lymph nodes. We can use both. And during the necropsy, we can do the fine needle aspiration puncture of the popliteal lymph node. And you can see here in the picture on the right that we use a 13x7 disposable hypodermic needle and a 5 ml disposable syringe. And we made a smears. We made a process that we can call a fan movements in different directions that we introduce in the lymph node, and we can obtain a great amount of cells inside the needle. And all of these smears was made in a string of glass slides and fixed and stayed in a rapid panoptic that we can later we can read in the microscope. And then our principal methodology was the situ inclusion of the lymph node samples. And these samples were using this technique. They start with the fine needle aspiration puncture. And after this, the aspiration, the plunger stay rest with 1 ml of 90-50% of alcohol was aspirated, and the aspirate remains in the solution for 5 minutes to prefix the material. You can see here in the first picture letter A. After this alcohol, 90 ml of 10% formaldehyde placed for fixation and formation the cell block. After this fixation for 24 hours, the collected material was inserted into histological cassettes that you can see here in the picture letter B. And this material are going to increase in alcohol baths, followed by xylol and paraffin baths during 20 minutes. And later in the picture C, you can see the material in the final that we can later go to the microscope and read the results. But first of all, we only start to use the hematoxylin eosin for the cell block, but we noticed that it wasn't so good to read these results. That's why we made another methodology that was the Ginsa instained standardization for situ inclusion. So in the literature, there is no signs of Ginsa method. So we create a method to be that works and be more specific to find the mastigotes form from leishmania. So we made here are the methodology, the specimen immersion in the Ginsa solution that you can see in the figure 3. It stayed in 1 hour with this coloration here. And then we prepare a differentiation that was performed with, in a glass with 90 ml of distilled water and 3 drops of acetic acid with 3 immersion. So it was the prioritization that we did. And then another technique was the histological examination of lymph nodes that we sent to anatomopathology laboratory, and then they made the histological processing of the routine. After we made our last methodology, that was the immunohistochemistry examination of the lymph nodes in the cell blocks that we already did in this process. So the result found was classified by positive or negative, taking the existence of immunoreaction. And after all of these, we made analysis in a statistical analysis that we used the Kruskal-Wallis test, and we used the Jamov software. So now we are going to see our results. After all of this methodology and all of these techniques, which one was the best one? So of the 15 samples collected, 13 were positive in one of the techniques used to diagnose leishmanias. Immunohistochemistry was the technique with the best result, that we had the 13 positive for leishmanias, followed by cytology with 10 positives, and then the cell block with 5 positives, and the histopathological examination with 2 positives. And our statistic showed that the evidences of statistical significance was difference. So comparing the number of positives in the techniques used and the number of samples used, a high quality statistical significance was demonstrated in terms of immunohistochemistry associated with the cell block. Then the lymph node histology group, so it was the p-value 001. And the technique under the test, the cell block of lymph nodes in methoxylin eosin, together with the lymph node histology, did not demonstrate a statistically significant difference. That's the two obtained equivalent result, with the p-value marking 0.580. And after this, we can observe that the cell block processing, it requires no investment in a specific design is necessary, since the processing is in the same as the immunohistochemistry, which is a routine pathology laboratories. The samples requires for the cell block processing is a minimal amount. And another advantage of the cell block technique is the possibility to perform retest with the same material that is preserved in the paraffin. And regarding the cell block observed in our results, why we chose the Ginza instead to the hematoxylin eosin. You can see here in the picture on the right that the results in figure B is with hematoxylin and eosin, and the samples are not very good. The material was so dirty, and it was like we can't see the amastigotes forms of the leishmanias. So it was a lot of pigments of formalin in the samples. So it's so common to have the formalin pigments in materials with leishmanias, in hematoxylin eosin using in histological test. So in the cell block, it stays the same. It was so dirty, we can't see the mastigote form. But you can see the comparison here in the figure C, in the figure D. Both of them is used with Ginza method, and we can see clearly cells. We can count the cells. We can see the mastigote form of the leishmanias, and the quality was so good that we preferred to stain a standardization of a technique that was using coloration with Ginza. And after this, we can concrete that the cell block is accessible, is fast, is low cost, and it's high sensitivity method to cytomorphological diagnosis. However, the sensitivity for diagnosis leishmanias was not satisfactory. On the other hand, when the cell block used with immunohistochemistry, the best result was obtained among the other techniques used, being the one with the highest sensibility. So the cell block associated with the immunohistochemistry can increase the accuracy of the diagnosis. So the cell block associated with this immunohistochemistry can make a combination of the accurate diagnostic method and a technique that allows large-scale field studies and is highly to improve the investigation of leishmania and infected dove, especially in an endemic area as São Luís. So in our conclusion, we can see that the definitive diagnosis of leishmanias must be based on the association of several diagnostic techniques. Parasitological diagnosis is a simple, quick, and inexpensive method that can be routinely used by veterinarians. However, the animal's immune status and the stage of the disease can interfere with the parasite load, making it difficult to find the mastigotes. And the use of cell block associated with immunohistochemistry is valid technique to aid in to diagnose, showing high sensitivity and specificity. And the cell block can be implemented in the diagnostic routine, offering prognostic information and improve the definitive diagnosis. And the cell block has not been shown the suitable for rapid tests and the parasitological quantification in canine visceral leishmanias. And the aspiration cytology was the best technique for the microscope detection of the parasite, determining the level of the parasite intensity with more agility and practicability. So that's my references. And that's it. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Clarissa, por sua apresentação.
Parabéns, Clarissa.
Aí você falou muito detalhado, sua apresentação foi maior de todos, pelo que entendemos, né? Acho que você demorou mais, né? Explicando os resultados, metodologia, foi tudo explicadinho. Meus parabéns para você, seu trabalho, sua apresentação. Vou passar para o professor Silas, se ele tem alguma pontos para adicionar ou alguma sugestão, alguma pergunta. Professor Silas, por favor.
Clarissa, congratulations. Are you graduate student or undergraduate student?
Undergraduate.
Because this research is, well, it was well explained to you. I mean, I didn't understand everything, but it's because I'm beginner, no common sense in this stuff. But we can notice that you understand what you are doing. So this is a kind of this is a kind of research. This is the kind of research that is very mature, and you can publish even in international journals. So congratulations. And one thing that I didn't understand. Maybe you could explain to me, but probably you explained that I missed the point. Probably that why cell block it's not, because I think in some part of your presentation you told us that the cell block it's not used a lot, right?
Yes.
But why it's not used? Because it's a low cost and you have good outcomes. So why, in your opinion, why it's not spread?
First, because it's missing research in this area with cell block, because the cell block is only used for neoplasms, and the Leishmania's research with cell block is, we can't find the literature. That's why we started to research to see if it is efficient using cell block with Leishmanias. And then we found that it's really good to use because it's low cost and it's high sensibility, but it's missing more research about it. That was I was explaining that Ginsa method was so good because we can count the cells, we can see the Amash-Gold forms. So in the future, we are trying to improve more in this method with cell blocks and try to use in the anatomopathology laboratory at UEMA. That's where I study and where my research supervisor works. So it's a plan to the future to use, because we found that it's good and we can use it.
So congratulations, and we are proud of that you studied at UEMA. Actually, all of you, okay? Thalya, Laryssa, Tatiane, Valéria, and you included Clarissa. So thank you so much and good job.
Thank you very much, Professor Silas. Muito obrigado aos candidatos que hoje eles apresentaram os trabalhos de você nesse momento de sessão internacional, né? É a segunda edição que nós temos dessas apresentações, que foi sugerido ano passado, né? Como o professor Thales tinha falado, que foi através da portaria do professor Gustavo, nosso reitor, que sugeriu que deve ter uma sessão para os alunos que apresentaram seu trabalho na língua estrangeira. E hoje nós estamos em inglês, futuramente pode ser em espanhol também, quem sabe se a gente amplia, né? Mas por enquanto estamos continuando em inglês, aí futuramente se melhora, pode ser em espanhol também ou outra língua estrangeira, para vamos testar a coisa de bilingual dos nossos alunos, tá bom? Meus parabéns a todos que eles apresentaram seus trabalhos e hoje eles estavam presentes aqui, tá? Meus parabéns a todos. Então, eu acho que vamos encerrar nossa sessão, né, Joyce? Também quero agradecer ao professor Silas,
Sim, professor.
seu tempo valoroso que ele deu para a gente, né? E até que adicionou os pontos para os alunos, que era necessário, e então foi muito bom ouvir o professor Silas, né? Thank you very much, professor Silas. Vou passar para a Joyce, se ela quer encerrar essa sessão com as últimas palavras.
Dou por encerrada a sessão, certo? Se algum aluno tiver alguma dúvida, algum dos professores tiver alguma dúvida sobre a gravação, sobre o encerramento, se podem ter acesso à gravação, alguma coisa vocês podem perguntar, tá? Vocês podem, inclusive, perguntar diretamente para a Alessandra, que é a organizadora geral desse evento. Eu estou aqui só como um apoio, tá certo? Essas dúvidas vocês podem tirar diretamente com ela sobre esse acesso diretamente à gravação. Acredito que não vai haver nenhum tipo de negativa, mas é sempre bom, né? Tirar essas dúvidas com ela. Eu vim só para dar abertura a vocês e o encerramento aqui da sala como apoio, tá certo? Então, eu desejo a todos um bom dia, um resto de dia, né? Que já estamos às 10h42. E muito obrigada, agradeço a oportunidade e um bom dia a todos, tá certo? Obrigada.
Obrigado, Joyce. vamos escutar o professor Silas para últimas palavras. Silas, professor.
Minhas últimas palavras serão em português, muito obrigado. Desculpe aí qualquer coisa. Sinto muito feliz, né, honrado de estar aqui, dividindo esse espaço aí com o professor Alamgir, né, e com a Joyce, e também com as ótimas pesquisas, né, e projetos da Thalya, da Laryssa, da Tatiane, da Valéria e da Clarissa. Um grande prazer. Um abraço a todos e todas. Qualquer coisa, estamos por aqui.
Então tá, obrigado a todos, candidatos e equipe. Então vamos encerrar nossa sessão. Então, tchau, tchau, um bom dia a todos e boa sorte.